Ladies and gentlemen, Fox Business, McCarthy threatens to cancel House recess if debt ceiling deal isn't reached by next week. You have to ask yourself, well, we have a big national debt crisis. Who is the cause of that? They say, well, Trump added $7 trillion to the national debt. The $4 trillion that was added in his last year would not have been added if Democratic governors did not tank their economy and shut down economic activity. This is a fact. It's not my opinion. You can't say that it's Trump's policies because the way it's spun in media is, well, Trump added $7 trillion. Trump didn't add $7 trillion. He's not, he didn't control the actions of Pritzker and Whitmer and Newsom and Cuomo and every Democratic governor that gleefully shut down economic activity. And for what purpose? It's written as just, a passing statement, like you have to accept the statement. Well, it's a once in a lifetime. Yeah, it was a once in a lifetime where every expert and every authority and every highly educated, morally superior liberal Democrat vehemently wanted to shut down economic activity. Not everyone, but almost everybody in the Democratic Party. Even public opinion polls show within the Democratic Party, if you were to shut down the economy again and pump $10 trillion, instead of allowing people to just simply work, they would be, a great many would be fine. Probably about 40%, 50% would be okay with that still. The mentality is a different mentality on the Democratic Party side. Okay, Trump did not, through his policies, cause anyone to shut down economic activity. We should never have done that, number one. Yes, it was a serious issue. Wasn't Trump's fault. Like everything we're finding out now from the Durham probe, we already know the Durham probe report showed that he was set up and framed, that the government never should have investigated an incoming president. Intel agencies are not meant to set up and frame an opposing candidate who defeats Hillary Clinton and then goes into the Oval Office. I think Hillary will be the 24 nominee, but anyway, for the Democratic Party. I think it'll be Trump, Hillary again in 24. But anyway, Trump's policies did not lead us to $4 trillion plus dollars and $10 trillion plus dollars in fiscal and monetary stimulus. Okay? The revisionist, distorted, warped historical perspective just 2 years down the road is unbelievable. And now you have the debt ceiling talks where, of course, yet again, Democrats are the good, noble characters in Congress trying to save the social safety net after poverty has gone up under their watch. We had in 2019 record low poverty under Trump. Okay? We had record low poverty under Trump. Hit subscribe to this channel right now, because I don't think many people are talking about record low poverty under Trump. We had record highs in household median income under Trump in 2019. We had 2% inflation and record lows in unemployment. Everything was running smoothly. Was it a serious issue that took place in our country? Absolutely. Did you have to actually tank the U.S. economy and just funnel everybody into Costco and supermarkets so there were toilet paper runs? Well, the toilet paper runs caused bank runs eventually. We're going to have more bank runs because the same Federal Reserve and Biden's administration that said, well, inflation was only temporary, they didn't even believe that inflation was an issue. That's how miserably failed this administration is. They didn't even think inflation was a problem. They were saying it was only temporary, nothing to worry about. Then they raised interest rates. So, interest rates skyrocketed. So you raise interest rates to the point where now banks are there are bank runs because of investments that tank the bank when the interest rates go up too quickly. That's what happened with Silicon Valley Bank and some other banks. But they didn't even think that interest rates were they didn't even think interest rates were a problem. And we have inflation now. It's still over 5. Well, officially it says 5%, but that's nonsense, because food inflation, energy, and rent far more than 5%. Okay, so the inflation rate hit close to over 9% at one point, around 9%. Then it subsided. Biden flooded the country full of 200 million barrels of strategic petroleum reserves, while, of course, pontificating about the planet and begging other countries for oil and gas. Then he blamed you-know-who after an invasion took place under his watch. So you have the worst of every, you have the worst in foreign policy, the worst in economic policy, and Trump is mean because he tweets things. He doesn't tweet things anymore, but he's mean, and he's vulgar, and he's just terrible. He's a terrible human being. But Biden has been a catastrophe for the country. The only people who don't think that are people who look at cosmetic, they look at surface numbers. Well, it's 5% now. That's terrible still. Okay, but what's food? A lot more than 5%. What's rent? A lot more than 5%. Energy? A lot more than 5%. And so you're looking at 10 to 20% for a lot of food items, rent. So, and then energy, if he didn't flood the 200 million barrels of strategic petroleum reserves, inflation would be far higher in terms of the overall number. And so you have an economy that's just on thin ice. It's walking a tightrope. And this was not Trump's policies. So you read NPR, I mean, I'm reading NPR, this one article, ProPublica. Donald Trump built a national debt so big, even before the pandemic. That's not true. So big, even before that it'll weigh down the economy for years. Did anybody at ProPublica realize we had record low poverty in 2019? Record highs in household median income in 2019? We had record low unemployment. We had 2% inflation. The economy was roaring. It was not his policy to shut down economic activity. It was not his policy to do that. That was not Trump's policy. Then it said the national debt has risen by almost $7.8 trillion during Trump's time in office. Trump's time, that was $4 trillion of that, half of that was in his last year. It was in his last year. So you have a situation, ladies and gentlemen, where you have his last year in office contributing to basically over half of the debt that he is blamed for. And then you have an economy that's teetering on a stock market crash. I believe will still it'll be unfortunate. I think we're going to have a terrible, terrible stock market crash. We'll have more bank runs. And I told everybody in 2021, I said, this is going to be a terrible time to invest. And 2022 was one of the worst years. One of the worst years in stock market history since the Great Depression. So I just want to go ahead and when Republicans and Democrats battle and McCarthy kind of blocks negotiations, poverty is up under Biden. Inflation, real wages are down under Biden. Real wages are down. Real wages are up. So when these organizations, there's a chart here that shows President Obama started around 10 trillion. He ends close to 20 trillion in debt. Okay. Then Trump Trump gets it around 20 and goes to 28 trillion, but almost all of it, most of it, okay, is his last year in office. Hit subscribe to this channel right now, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be back.